All right, I have 7 o'clock. We will call the White Bear Township Town Board meeting for June 16th, 2025 to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Patrick, we have any changes?
No changes from staff, Mr. Chair.
I would recommend we move open time up to between 8 and 9, so when we go into closed session with our attorney, we can clear the room.
Good plan.
Board have any adjustments to the agenda?
I do not.
I don't.
Move to approve the amended agenda.
A second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, item 3 is approval of payment of the bills. You sign off, Steve?
I signed off. Move to approve payment of the bills.
A second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, item 4 is approval of prior minute meetings. This is from June 2nd, 2025. Anybody have any changes or corrections?
I do. On the consent agenda, item, let's see, 5B, the location for the June executive meeting. It says basically they're going to move to the Old Town Hall at 1279 Hammond Road and reschedule to the week before June 20th. And I believe that to mean on June 20th versus the week before June 20th.
Yes, correct.
So make that's a small correction. Outside of that, I saw nothing else. I'll move to approve that with that slight change.
A second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? All right, item 5 is a consent agenda. There are only 3 of them. Board want to pull any, or are we good with them?
I'm good.
I'm fine.
All right, I need a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve items 5A, B, and C on the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, moving on. Item 6 is old business. It's the Public Safety Commission recommendation for Stillwater Street and Bald Eagle Avenue. Patrick, you going to do this?
Sure. So the Safety Commission's, I believe it was the May meeting, requested data for accidents at this intersection, and there have been significant accidents at that intersection. And based upon the data that our CSO provided the commission, they have decided to request that the Township Board, because it's a county road through there, that the Township Board requests from Ramsey County that be made a 4-way stop at Stillwater and Bald Eagle. Beth, did I summarize that okay?
I think you did.
Okay. So we are looking for that motion from you this evening.
Steve, any questions or comments?
Well, the comment that I'll make is, I thought about whether there should be the first step, slow signs, but I do not believe that is going to have any effect because it's right before the school. And the observations I've made personally is a 4-way stop is the best.
Traffic
solution
flows
there.
through there pretty fast.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's really a change due to the school. Oh, no, outside of that, no.
So if there is a recommendation to go to the county board, remember, it's in their hands at that point.
You're right.
But we will, along with whatever decision the board makes this evening, we will send along the data that they shared with us, just to let them know where we're coming from.
But they can't share the near misses, and there's plenty of them.
Anecdotally, you're correct. Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Beth, so you were at the Public Safety Commission. Anything else to add? Otherwise,
Nope. I'm really in favor of this.
is that a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request for a stop sign at Stillwater Street and Bald Eagle Avenue.
A second?
That's a 4-way stop, correct?
Yes.
Make it a
Yes.
4-way stop. I'll second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, board.
All right, item 7, first one is its public hearing for Central Road, Park 35E. I need a motion to waive the reading.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading that was properly published.
I'll second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Then I need a motion to open up the public hearing.
I'll move to open the public hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, CJ, you gonna handle this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Tonight we have an application for 3 separate items regarding the Park 35E major subdivision, Phase 2. The first is a preliminary plat. This is a preliminary plat rather than a final because there are lot line adjustments, which means they need to start at preliminary plat once again. for phase 2. A permitted use standards permit, the building is proposed to be warehouse and office, similar to building number 1. And a conditional use permit called limited outside storage. This use is always applied for with a permitted use. So limited outside storage cannot be its own use. However, it is with the warehouse and office. As we've discussed in meetings past, this site is located in the northwest space in the township between Centerville Road and Interstate 35E, 3 undeveloped lots, which after the recent phase 1 subdivision approval, they are now addressed 5310 Centerville Road, 5200 Centerville Road, and 5124 Centerville Road. It is still the light industrial zoning district. Approved in phase 1 was lot 1 with 1 building, outlot A with 2 future buildings shown, outlot C with 1 future building shown, and then outlot B, which is a vacant drainage area and wetland. Also approved in phase 1 was a trail and a landscaping plan, both to be constructed during development of lot 1 and building 1, as well as the Centerville Road turn lanes. The proposal before you includes lot 1, which was previously approved. No changes to that lot. However, proposed lot 2, which was formerly called outlot A, is changed to be 17 acres with 1 building at just over 100,000 square feet, including that conservation easement and wetland on the northwest corner. Outlot C will be 8.95 acres and left vacant for the time being. They show a future building at nearly 150,000 square feet. Outlot B remains vacant as a drainage area and a wetland. The exterior rendering, which we saw at the previous town board meeting, is still accurate with the green and the different beige colors there. This is on looking from the northeast corner of the property. They also submitted a new landscaping plan. Proposed lot 2 does meet the requirements for landscaping. They are showing 50 coniferous trees, 44 deciduous trees, 35 ornamentals, and 147 shrubs. The additional trees are shown around the trail, on top of the retaining wall and below the retaining wall. Shrubs are shown lining the proposed building 2. Trees are also shown surrounding this parking lot, which is new for this phase of development, as well as trees surrounding the drive lanes here. A landscape rendering was submitted and reviewed by the Planning Commission in addition to you all tonight. Just shows a little bit better where those trees are. It's on the screen in front of you and included in your packet. The trail that was approved in phase 1 is still in the same location. This shows where it'll be in relation to the newly proposed building. Grading, utility, and erosion control plans were also submitted and reviewed by staff. In addition to the preliminary plat, there is also a application for a permitted use standards permit. So zoning ordinance section 9.9.3.4 includes those standards for all permitted uses, which you're familiar with. As with the approval of any permitted use standards permit, you're also adopting those standards that are in section 9-3.4. The application for office and warehouse is permitted in the industrial district. There are no concerns with parking on the lot, nor setbacks or impervious surface coverage. Those are all met. And the third request tonight is a conditional use permit. Those criteria are listed in section 9-4 of the zoning ordinance. The application is for limited outside storage to store trailers, which would be semi-truck trailers, within the parking lot south of proposed building 2. Outdoor storage and limited outside storage are both defined in the ordinance, and it's important to look at both of them because they kind of work together to understand why this is necessary. Outdoor storage is defined as the keeping in an unroofed area of any goods, junk, material, merchandise, or vehicles in the same place for more than 24 hours. The use, limited outside storage, is defined as raw materials or finished product stored outside of a light industrial building, not to exceed 3% of the site, and must be screened with 100% opaque fence constructed of material which complements the building. Material shall not be stacked so it exceeds the height of the fence. Fencing shall be complemented with landscaping. So the applicant is proposing semi-truck trailer storage, and the applicants have stated that they don't anticipate this would be all the time. This is for those cases when a truck may need to be left overnight for a single night or over a weekend before or after loading. And that's what this parking area would be for. It would be for overnight trailer storage as well as queuing for the loading docks that are attached to the building. The Planning Commission did review this request and discussed the opaque fencing and where it would be located. It was discussed that it would be located where this red line that I added is shown here. I will zoom in so you can actually see it. The ordinance does not require that it be completely enclosed, the trailer storage. However, it does need to be there for screening from adjacent properties. It's proposed in this location due to the proposed building blocking some of the northern properties, as well as the berm blocking visuals from the interstate. So this fencing location would block the sightline from the properties in the northwest, to the northwest of the
How high is it?
subject property. So the fence must be tall enough to completely cover the materials or the vehicles being stored there. So the applicant would be required to make it as tall as whatever trucks are parked there.
Okay.
And it would have to be 100% opaque fence based on the definition.
Material is?
I'm not sure of the proposed material at this time. You could ask the applicant. As a condition, it would have to be complementary to the building itself. Per the definition. But that'd be a good question for the applicant. Included in the conditional use, storage is only allowed on 3% of the site where it is permitted. That would mean 3% of the entire Park 35E site, so including lots 1, 2, and outlot C and B. And that does meet this. I believe this is at somewhere around like 2.62% of the development would be for this storage. The applicant would be required to keep it to 3%. So even if the proposed third building is developed, they cannot exceed the 3% of storage. So that third tenant, or however many tenants are in that third building, they would likely not be able to do additional outdoor storage like this or any other materials. There are 3 actions for the board to take tonight. The first is on the preliminary plat request for the major subdivision. You can approve the request with justification and with conditions, deny the request, or table it for any further review or study. The second action is for the permitted use standards permit for office and warehousing. You can approve the request, deny it with findings, or table the request for further review and study. And action 3 is regarding the conditional use permit for limited outdoor storage, outside storage, excuse me. You may approve with conditions or without conditions, deny with findings for denial, or table the request for further study. Now, these materials have been distributed to staff, and staff comments have been received. The Vadnais Lake Area Watershed Management Organization has reviewed the request and has no comments. The City of North Oaks has reviewed the materials but has not provided comments at this time. The fire department, the City of Wiper Lake Fire Department, has reviewed and provides the following comments. They state areas planned for snow storage shall have signs posted stating no snow storage here in the location of fire hydrants. That would not be something that would prohibit any action tonight. However, it is a comment for the applicants to note. As well as all new fire hydrants shall have a 5-inch stores permanently mounted for large diameter port. The other two smaller 2.5-inch connect shall remain national hose tread. And that would all be approved with inspection and building permits. The building inspector reviewed the materials with no comments at this time. Engineering and public works staff also reviewed the request and provided comments to the applicant with a memo dated 6/11/25 that was provided to the applicant. They have received that. And lastly, Ramsey County and the Minnesota Department of Transportation, MnDOT, have both received the materials and were reminded of the request. They did get back to me, so they've seen it, but I haven't received comments from either party, the county nor the state. And finally, for recommendation on the 3 actions, the Planning Commission reviewed the request and recommends approval of the preliminary plat with the conditions regarding the conditional use permit that an opaque fence shall be shown on the site plan to screen from adjacent properties to the northwest. No more than 3% of the total Park 35E subdivision area is to be used for limited outside storage. The preliminary plat for Park 35E shall be approved subject to revisions as noted in staff comments memo dated 5/21/25 and 6/11/25. The applicant shall enter into a development agreement with the township as part of the final plat application. All phase 1, this is an addition that I would recommend based on staff conversation following when we publish the materials. I would recommend adding that all phase 1 elements included in the 5/19 town board approval of phase 1 shall be resolved as well. In addition, the applicant shall acquire all local, county, state, and federal permits for the request. For the permitted use standards permit, the Planning Commission recommends approval of the request for office, warehouse, and warehousing. And for the conditional use permit, the Planning Commission also recommends approval of the request with the similar conditions requiring that opaque fencing being shown to screen from the adjacent properties to the northwest. No more than 3% of the total subdivision area is to be used for this storage. The owner and applicant shall execute a private restriction on all lots within the site to ensure any future development does not exceed 3% of that storage access across the entire proposed development. The proposed use shall have no negative impacts of noise, glare, or odor effects on adjacent properties. And the proposed use shall abide by all township ordinances, including the nuisance ordinance, as amended from time to time. Resolutions for approval have been drafted and are included in the staff packet tonight. If the board wishes to deny any of these requests, a resolution will need to be drafted following the board meeting. If the board would like to table any of these requests, staff should be directed on what items to review or request. Thank you for letting me give my spiel. Do you have any questions?
Steve? You're at the Planning Commission.
I was. For the conditional use permit parking lot, the lighting that needs to be there it's going to be similar to the lighting as proposed throughout this development? So no additional lighting, security lighting of any kind?
I don't believe so. That's a good question for the applicant. They did.
Then I will ask that.
They did submit lighting plans, though.
Okay.
Does that include downlighting on the buildings and?
Yes. Yes, they have stated that they've reduced the amount of lighting that they originally showed in order to reduce the effects on the neighbors. So I believe it's changed slightly, but again, the applicants can.
And maybe you said it, maybe you did not. On the opaque fencing areas, it's kind of on the south side, along the west side, and a little bit of the north side, so it covers the corner of the building so that the houses that kind of down the hill there, they are okay, covered. Was there landscaping on that side of the opaque fencing also? I don't.
Yes, I have zoomed in to a very blurry version,
I
but,
couldn't really, he said yes. The applicant said yes along the opaque fencing.
okay, then yes, there is there.
We'll have, just double check for the record when you're up here. I thought so. So it'll be fencing plus landscaping
Yes.
along there. Okay.
Anything else?
No?
Beth?
The only thing that I would like to know what the material is for the opaque fencing, if I could know that. And then you had some selections on your landscape plan that I would suggest you might want to rethink. One of the choices was actually cited as do not plant by a couple of arboretums. And I think that needs to be reworked a bit. So I'd ask that we take a look at your landscape plan. And I'd like to know the material, if you could show me a sample of it for the screening.
All right. CJ, is that all you got?
So far, yeah.
Okay. CJ, you got, I don't know, is there a monument sign location on this plan?
There's not one shown. The applicant would need to get all the proper sign permits and go through another application process.
Okay, well, we want to make sure that that's on there, so it's identifying White Bear Township. Also, are these, maybe a question for the applicant again, are these buildings rooftop mechanical, and is that screened, or is it on the ground, screened?
Could you ask that question again?
Rooftop mechanical?
I'm not familiar.
Well, usually the mechanical for the building is either on the roof or on the ground.
I noticed the applicant is raising their hand and would be happy to
We'll get to
share
you.
during open
All
time.
right, it's all right. And I think, obviously, I got a couple more questions for the applicant. All right, is there any other questions of staff from the board?
I'll just ask, again, I read a lot of material to read through here.
Yes.
Have they met all the requirements? Or is there open items that need to be addressed before we get to this point of approval?
As a condition of approval to cover all the bases, stating that all the Phase 1 elements shall be resolved. They recently did record with the county all of the
saw that,
development agreement and the easements and everything like that. There's still open communication with the applicant regarding a few things, but it can be, as a condition of approval, would be okay.
All right, anything else to CJ? Jim, got anything to add, subtract?
No, I don't.
All right, hearing none, I need a motion to open up public comment portion of the hearing.
I'll move to open up the public comment portion of the hearing.
I'll second.
Motion made and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, applicant, we got some questions. You want to come up, identify yourself and an address?
My name is Evan Matson. My address is 6317 Mildred Avenue. CJ gave a really good overview of the project, so I'd like just to touch on a couple high-level items, and then we can go into questions. The first, CJ, if you could skip this one, you covered this pretty well. Go to the site plan. Oh, this is just an image of how it's going to be replatted. The lot lines were slightly adjusted, particularly on Outlot A, so that outlot lot line is moving up about 100 feet. Yeah, this is a really good slide. So what we were able to do with this application, because we were working with the end user, is move from a speculative site plan. So the first site plan that we came through here had 4 buildings all running north-south. That's the ideal site plan for a speculative project where you're trying to get tenants, you're trying to design for unknowns. What we were able to do here was reconfigure a bunch of site elements specific to the user. The first is the auto parking, for example. We're showing 40 stalls in the northeast corner instead of the entirety of that northern elevation being car parking, and that's driven by requirements for the end user. So it's preserving green space as well as shielding the residents from truck activities to the south. And that's one item that we really tried to focus in on, was how can we provide green space? How can we provide additional screening? The ring road that wraps around the building, following up on that final approval for building 1, we shifted that down so we could get full plantings on top, as well as there's now a row of trees on the west that was car parking. So we're trying to really reduce, eliminate, increase plantings as much as we can. And if you want to zoom out a little bit, CJ. And then as far as the trailer truck parking area, if you could zoom in on that. So we're showing an opaque fencing, and what we would propose is a slatted fencing. It would be consistent with the color scheme of the building. It'd be an earth tone color. It's on the outside, it'd be 2 rows of trees, one immediately, and then one also on the plateau there. So you'd have 2 rows of trees, opaque fencing, screening that area. Do you have any additional questions in regard?
What about the height of it? I mean, what is the standard trailer height?
Standard trailer height is 13'6", if I remember correctly.
So you're talking about a 14-foot high wall?
Yeah, and we would have to do some studies just to determine exactly how high it would be to screen, and that would be done in further analysis. But yes, to answer your question, yes.
And I asked about mechanical. Is it rooftop?
Yeah. So unit heaters are on the interior of the building. The mechanicals for the building will be on top, but they'll be screened by the parapets. They'll be set back in a way that you can't see them. So the parapet that will line there, they'll be about 50 feet south of that. And given the topography of the residents to the north, as well as adjacent parcels, the way that they're set back, you can't see them.
Okay, and then do you have a spot picked out for a monument sign yet or not?
So we would be submitting for a separate monument sign permit. Where we are going to install the sign, maybe if there's a better overall site plan, would be on the north entrance. The south entrance is surrounded by wetlands, so it's going to be pretty difficult. Okay. But north entrance, to answer your question. And we'd be following the ordinance of...
And you talked about usage. Do you have someone in mind now?
For this building?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the way that we were able to reconfigure this building and this site plan really was was working with an end user. So there is an end user in mind. We mentioned at the Planning Commission, we're currently under NDA, so we can't publicly disclose it yet.
Well, actually, I'm going for hours of operation.
Hours of operation would be consistent with the zoning.
Okay. Steve?
Well, going back to the parking lot with truck parking, the opaque fencing, type of material, you said it's going to be slatted or whatever you were saying, but is it pure? I think that's where Beth
Yeah, I'd
was
like to
asking.
know if
what
you
kind of
could just
material?
show us a sample of it. Could you submit one?
I don't have a sample right now. I could
Could
provide.
you get us a sample so we could take a look at it?
Sure. We could provide images, I'm sure, pretty
That'd
easily.
be good.
Yeah.
The other question that I asked before you stood up had to do with lighting in that area there. Is it anything different than what's throughout the development?
No. And I believe we talked about this at the Planning Commission, but for those who weren't there, we eliminated the wall packs so lighting wouldn't be sent outward from the site, and we added light poles to direct light inward. And that was to eliminate the light transfer to the residents to the north. We tried to minimize the windows along the north elevation to accomplish a similar goal. And so what we're showing are light poles that are satisfying the minimum safety requirements for the development, and we're trying to send it inward instead of outward, taking into account the feedback.
I guess because it's an open parking lot, does that alter that inward and outward?
So we would have wall packs along the southern elevation of the building, meaning lights shining straight down. And then there would be a couple of light poles sending light into the site in that secured parking.
So not in the middle of the lot? Looks, there's dots that look like there's light standards in the middle.
I believe those dots right there are actually remnant utility.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They're not light.
No. Yeah.
So say trucks will take care of them
No.
themselves.
Yeah, no.
Okay, that answered my question.
What else you got, Beth?
Just landscape plan, there were some selections that, and they may have changed, I thought I looked at the most recent one.
Yeah.
But there were some selections that were not recommended by some of the arboretums, because they started checking them. You had, they're tearing out, Public Works departments are tearing out weeping willows because they gravitate to the sewer and water pipes.
Yeah.
So you might not want those.
Okay. That
Just, it's just a few things, and I mean, it's like, I'm happy to run through with your guy, because I took a look at it, but there were some things you might want to tweak.
sure. And
Some of them died rather quickly, so you might want to rethink that.
yeah. And I guess what we were trying to accomplish with the weeping willows was they're a fairly large tree next to a wetland. So we figured that would provide significant amounts of screening, but we're happy to switch that to.
Well, no, their roots can go as far as 4 miles. That's why you really want it. They can. They're invasive as heck.
Sure. Okay. We can work with that.
Yeah.
Anything else?
So I guess to satisfy that though, who are you going to be who would he be working with?
Well, you had a guy, I'll tag the ones that I think you might want to look at.
We can incorporate.
Because you have a landscape architect working on this, correct?
Yeah, it's Alliant Engineering, and we can work with them on that.
Beth, I would suggest you provide that information to the staff and let the staff work
Sure.
with them.
I'm sorry, I'm the new guy, I'm sorry.
Well, I know, but I think you're
I'll
better
do
off to let the staff, you
All
give
right.
your suggestions to the staff and let them.
Okay,
We can work with staff on that.
okay, no problem.
All right, any other questions of the applicant? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question? That's the fencing that you're talking about. When you provide a sample for me, could you tell me what the material is?
Sure.
So I've got a really good idea of what it looks like and how it'll be constructed.
Yeah, and I guess it's
Okay.
following on a similar note. We'll present it to staff and we'll let them
Okay.
communicate.
Is it like just maintenance-free type of stuff?
So it's a plastic
Yeah,
that runs in shields, so you can get it in a bunch of different pigment colors.
sure.
Make it easy suggestion, because we are having a executive meeting on Friday of this week. If you have an opportunity to give something before Friday of that material,
Yeah.
it might clear this question up,
Yeah, we can do that.
get it to the staff.
All right, thank you. All right, anyone else wish to speak to this proposal? Need a name and an address for the record?
Oh, I don't want to. Steve Backus, 1104 Pioneer Lane. I just thank the developer there for really kind of listening to our concerns and addressing them. It's not perfect, but I'm getting used to it. There's one thing that I just thought of was when, not this building east to west one, but that other one, when they open that up, we're not, how do they get to those parking spots? Is there, if they took like the northern route, would they just swing around there, or they're not going to come all the way around? Do you know what I mean? It looks like there's parking on the 35 or 35 east side. I'm just wondering, future traffic patterns, if they're going to be going around the north side?
You explain it?
Yeah. Yep. So
Okay.
the traffic pattern
Yeah.
for the parking in the north, you would enter on one of the entrances,
You gotta speak up for the mic.
and then you would head north, and then you would travel east.
Okay. But then for this other building,
Yep.
would you do that same route, do you think, or?
The other building would probably jog more in S shape. So you would
way?
head to the center of the site, head north,
Okay.
and then east. And I'd say you're most likely for building 3, we'll call it, that one in the southeast corner, you'd probably enter on the south entrance.
All right, very good. And then we talked about opaque fencing for the trailer parking. Was there some other opaque fencing for where that retaining wall is, or is it just where that parking is for the trailers?
It's just for the parking, the outside storage.
Are we not screening then? Is that a road going around?
You talking about the trail?
Yep. Oh, that's,
That's the trail on the
no,
bottom.
no. Wait. I thought, I have to admit, I thought that they took it all away. Right in the corner there. That's just strictly trail, because I can see 2 black lines.
One of them is a retaining wall, I believe.
Okay.
That's all I have.
I thought that it got
Okay.
removed, so I think
Thanks,
we're
Steve.
okay.
All right, anyone else? Going once, going twice. All right, I need a motion to close the public comment portion of the hearing.
I'll move to close the public comment portion of the hearing.
I'll second.
Motion made, second, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, does the board have any other questions of staff? Otherwise, you want 3 different motions here, CJ?
Yes, 3 motions should be made. The first is resolution, if the board chooses to approve is Resolution 25-46 with the addition, oh, excuse me, it would be 2545 with the addition that all Phase 1 elements from the prior town board approval on 519 shall be resolved.
It says 48 in our packet.
Yeah.
Am I missing something?
I've got 2548. It's the first one.
For the major subdivision preliminary plat?
Yep, and then 25.
If it's that way in your packet, that would have been done by our deputy clerk, and I trust her implicitly. So let's go with those numbers.
Especially if you know it's good for you.
Yep. So I would go with whatever number you have in your packet. Thank you. With the addition of those Phase 1 elements.
Just a question before I make a motion on that. It's not really a condition, I guess, that Beth mentioned about the changing the landscaping trees as per se. So how do we get that into our resolution that we want the material and landscaping trees?
Well, that would be done on final plat approval, wouldn't it?
Final plat?
That's the
Okay,
final plat issue.
perfect. So I'll make a resolution approving a major subdivision request for a major subdivision preliminary plat for 5310 Centerville Road in our packet as 25-48.
I'll second.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, then what do you got here next, CJ?
The next action would be for the permitted use standards permit to allow for office and warehouse/warehousing.
I'll make a motion to pass a resolution approving a permitted use standard permit for 5310 Centerville Road, noted in the packet as 25-49.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Then the last one is the conditional use permit.
Correct. Conditional use permit to allow limited outdoor storage permitted on the site with the conditions as recommended.
I'll move to pass a resolution approving a conditional use permit for 5310 Centerville Road in the packet noted as 2550 with the conditions noted.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, that motion carries also. All right, gentlemen, probably see you in about a month. All right, moving on. We have another public hearing. This is for 2477 County Road F East. Again, I need a motion to waive the reading.
I'll move to waive the reading that was properly published.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, CJ, you gonna take this one too?
Yes, I am. Thank you, Chair. Tonight is a variance request to construct a guest cottage within an existing garage taller than the permitted height for guest cottages. I'll note that this is a variance application. They have not submitted an application for a conditional use permit yet. That will be the next item that they will have to do before actually implementing this use. The applicants are Benjamin and Catherine Locken at 2477 County Road F East. That is located in the southeast area of the
Let's
town.
back up. Did I get a motion to open up the public comment? I mean, the
Public hearing?
the public
No.
hearing.
I'll move to open up the publip hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Sorry, CJ.
My apologies as well.
You do.
Thank you, Ed. Okay, now we can go.
Would you like me to start from the beginning?
No, we're fine.
Okay. The applicant is proposing to construct a guest cottage within their existing garage. The garage already has an upper level. It is currently standing at 23 feet in height. They would not be expanding upon the height or the width of the structure.
Thanks, Jim.
However, ordinance number 35, section 7-9.7D requires guest cottages to be no taller than 15 feet in height. The applicants state that they would construct this guest cottage with no exterior changes, and it would be to provide living space for their aging parents. The design would be architecturally compatible with the existing resident and surrounding neighborhood. Architectural plans and site plans are included in this packet. A variance is required for any modification to the rules in the zoning ordinance. Variances require review by the Planning Commission and a recommendation, and the town board may approve or deny the variance at this public hearing based on the standards set in the zoning ordinance. The Planning Commission reviewed the request at the May 22nd meeting. They recommended approval of the variance with conditions listed at the end of your staff report. A guest cottage is defined as a detached dwelling unit. Attached dwelling units are referred to as accessory apartments. That would not be this use. Guest cottages are not permitted for rental purposes as well. Guest cottages are conditional uses in the R1 district, and they need to be applied for and obtained prior to construction of the guest cottage quarters. This applicant's property does meet all of the requirements. It must be at least 24,000 square feet in size in a sewered area, which it is. And all criteria listed in 7-9.7 are met. The guest cottage does not cover more than 700 square feet. The only issue is the height. So the height currently, again, is 23 feet, whereas the ordinance permits only 15 feet. Looking through the variance criteria, all of the criterion are met. The guest cottage is a reasonable use in the R1 district. The garage built to the height of 23 feet in 2005 is not a plight of the landowner. The applicant purchased their property earlier this year in 2025, and the upstairs is already existing on the building. There are no anticipated exterior modifications, and the plans submitted are consistent with the character of the neighborhood. And the applicant states that their motivation for using this structure is to minimize the lot coverage and maximize the green space, so they wouldn't want to build a shed for their appearance. So economic considerations do not appear to constitute their practical difficulty. Section 9(6.4) continues to go into the variance request facts. They are shown in your staff report with quotes from the applicant's narrative, which I can go through if you'd like me to. Also in your staff report is a 3D rendering of the guest cottage that they're proposing, which would include 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen and living space area. These plans were submitted to staff and other agencies. Ramsey County has no comments or concerns regarding the request. White Bear Lake, which the property does abut, did not get back to us with any comments. No comments have been received. The building inspector stated that no exterior modifications and no inside improvements are planned. Any necessary building and electrical permits must be obtained prior to any of the work on the structure. And the Rice Creek Watershed District had no comments, but they did provide just general comments on if the project were to disturb soils, what the procedure would be. The town board has the following options. You may approve the variance with or without conditions, deny it with findings, or table for further review and study. The commission recommended the town board approve the variance with the conditions including that the applicant shall make no exterior changes to the structures as indicated in materials received on May 1st, 2025. The applicant shall apply for a conditional use permit from the township prior to construction of the cottage, and the guest cottage cannot be rented out per township ordinance number 35. The applicant shall also apply for any applicable federal, state, local permits, adhere to local ordinances, regulations, and pay all fees and escrows associated with the project they have thus far. Does the board have any questions regarding this request?
Sewer and water, is it separate? Is it connected to the existing house?
Guest cottages would need a new connection. They would have to go through with the Met Council and
Okay.
the township to
But
new
they're
connection.
They're aware of that.
Yes.
Right, Steve, you were at planning commission?
I was, and that question was raised by the planning commission, and the answer provided there. The other question had to do with rental. The ordinance does not allow for that, and they were there and acknowledged that it was for a family member only and would never be rented. So, no.
Any questions, comments?
I'm just curious, are there windows on this side?
There is a row of windows across the,
Oh, that's the
It's just,
cross.
yeah, I know, but how about on this, here?
Don't
It's
have a
just
clue.
the windows are up so high.
there was, the applicant stated there was going to be no change to the structure.
That's
other
correct.
than-
That's
other
existing.
than Other than changing out the windows that exist to a different style of window, double hung or something. I think they were going to, sliders maybe, but they were going to change them from what they currently are to a something different.
It's a silly thought, but it's like, okay, if you got an older couple, they're gonna be up over their heads. That's not,
Yeah, how you gonna open them?
yeah. That's why I was asking if they
They
had,
might
you know,
not, maybe they don't operate, maybe that's why they're changing them.
yeah. That would be tough not to have an open window, though. Okay, that was my question.
Anything else, Steve?
No.
All right, hearing none from the board, I need a motion to open up for public comment.
I'll move to open the hearing for public comment.
I'll second.
Motion made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Anyone wish to speak to this item? Hearing none, applicant must not be here.
That's correct. The applicant was present at the planning commission.
Okay. All right, hearing none, I need a motion to close the public comment portion.
I'll move to close the public comment portion of the hearing.
I'll second.
Motion made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? I drove by this site today, and I tell you what, unless you're sitting right at the end of the driveway, you can't even see this building. So I don't think it's
I didn't think it was either.
an impact on anybody.
Yeah.
There's just, it's really a lot of tree cover around it.
Secluded. I was just concerned about the windows, but if they're fine with it, I guess I'll be fine with it.
Yeah, he did explain how they were going to use these windows. I just, quite honestly, can't repeat it.
All right, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution for the variance for 2477 County Road F East. Noted in the packet is 25-51.
I'll second.
Motion made, second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. All right, we have one more public hearing. This is for 2241 Buffalo Street. Again, I need a motion to waive the reading.
I'll move to waive the reading that was properly published.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 And then I need a motion to open up the public portion.
I'll move to open up the public portion of the hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, CJ, you got your hands full tonight.
No kidding.
And finally, we have a variance request at 2241 Buffalo Street. And this is a variance to request to construct a detached garage within the minimum side yard setbacks. The applicant is Trevor Howitt in the Suburban Residential and Shoreland Management Overlay Zone. The applicant is proposing to construct a garage with a 6-inch encroachment into the west side yard setback. 2241 Buffalo Street is accessed through a rear alley to access the existing garage. There's also access onto Buffalo Street, a typical sidewalk walking up to the front entrance of the home. The structure is proposed to be located 9.5 feet from the west side yard lot line, 10 feet from the east side yard lot line, which is met, and then 28.1 feet from the rear yard, which also meets the minimum 20 feet requirement. A variance is needed just from that west side yard setback to encroach 0.5 feet or 6 inches. The commission reviewed the request at the meeting and recommended approval with conditions that are listed in your staff report. Currently, the existing garage is only 5.5 feet from that east side yard setback, so this structure would be located in a similar location. However, it would reduce the overall side yard encroachments. The reason for this request, as stated by the applicant, is that the alleyway that goes around their building is quite unique. They have an alley in the rear and then alleyway to the east. However, that eastern public alley is currently completely treed and treated as a neighbor's yard rather than an accessible alleyway. So that's not.
Actually, a utility easement.
And it's utility easement. But it's currently not being used as an alley. Nobody's able to drive through there right now.
Well, the neighbor made sure that we couldn't drive through.
The proposed garage is now 10 feet from the side yard that abuts said public alley that's all treed, and 9.5 feet from the western side yard setback. Some research went into the request. Many communities have specific ordinances regarding alleyways. This has been a topic that was briefly brought up at a former executive meeting to look into in the future. However, currently there's no specific setbacks from alleys. Therefore, the rear yard would just be the rear yard of 20 feet, and that side yard would be the side yard setback of 10 feet. There's no additional footage because it's an alley. And this is confirmed by the corner lots provision in the ordinance, section 7, 1.1. Lots that abut more than one street shall meet the minimum front yard depth along each street, which is 35 feet. However, this provision is not applicable to alleyways. So the lots abutting the alleyways are not considered corner, and it does not fall under that requirement. The accessory structure standards are nearly all met, except for that west side yard setback. If the variance is granted, the architectural style and facing of the materials must be compatible with the principal building, and the structure must be no taller than the principal structure on the lot, the home on the property. The proposed garage results in 22.22% impervious surface coverage. That's below the required 30%. Looking through the variance criteria once again, the criterion do appear to be met. A detached garage is reasonable use in this area of the township and in this R1 zoning district. The width of the property owner is cited as the reason for the width of the property is cited by the property owner as the reason for needing a variance, creating difficulty meeting both of those side yard setbacks. The Planning Commission did discuss this in particular, questioning whether the garage had to be proposed in that location or at that size, and the applicant did state that the structure would be in the similar location, but it would actually reduce the side yard encroachment as a reason why it should be approved. A garage in that location would not alter the character of the locality. Many properties nearby do have garages closer to the alleyway than the proposed. And since it is within the alley, it is out of the general public way. And then practical difficulties do not appear to be met by economic considerations. The applicant did note some items in their narrative, which are also included in your packet, and staff comments were collected. Ramsey County stated that they have no comments or concerns. The watershed district, again, stated that they have no concerns. However, if there was significant soil grading or demolition, there is certain procedure that they need to go through. The building inspector stated that the variance is only for the location of the structure. So when they apply for a building permit, that's when they would need to show the proposed and existing grade elevations, the height of the building, as well as the facade.
Did Mike have any comments on drainage because of the building? Because when I went and looked at it, it looks like it's still shedding east and west, but I don't know if he was going to require gutters, or was that brought up or not?
Not yet, but I'll make a note of it, and that would be part of the building permit application review.
I can give you a tip about the dirt there. It's blue clay.
Well, which means it's not going to soak in.
That's correct.
Well, I mean, and Public Works has had an issue with snow storage at the end of that alley anyway, so if I don't want to see a drainage problem where it's going to run out and ice up on the road too. I don't, Mike knows more about that than we do, so.
It all ponds up, at the very end on McCormick's property.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay. And then the Minnesota DNR had no comments. It was sent to them just due to the proximity to the lake as well. You may approve the variance with or without conditions, deny it with findings for denial, or table it for any further review or study. The commission recommends that the board approve the variance with a condition stating that it shall be constructed according to the plans reviewed, with the request that the material shall be complementary to the facade of the principal structure, and that all other applicable federal, state, local permits, fees, ordinances, regulations, escrows shall all be paid that are associated with the project, and thus far they have been. Are there any further questions?
Steve?
I have no questions.
Beth?
I'm fine with it.
Like I said, I drove by it, and I do like to see that the applicant is making a concerted effort to make it less of a nonconformity when they do to replace these buildings, but, all right, I need a motion to open the hearing for public comment.
I'll make a motion to open the hearing for public comment.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Anyone here to wish to speak to that? Must be the applicant. I need a name and address, sir.
Trevor Howitt, 2241 Buffalo Street. If you have any questions, I guess you did mention it's wet back there. I'm hoping with this project we can kind of help address that as well. Right now, there's just kind of a culvert that was put in at some point, and
It's just really wet back there because your neighbor, Tom Voigt, I live behind you. I'm Beth in the
Okay.
red house. So I look at your place all the time.
yeah,
Brushing my teeth.
Tom's a good guy. I like him.
But yeah, it's his property is super wet. So,
Yeah.
and I know because I jacked up my house and put a basement underneath, and I know it's a blue clay. So good luck to you. You gonna put a driveway in or no?
There's already a driveway there, and I'm not planning to alter it too much.
Okay.
It'll just kind of curve over to get to the other door that will be there.
Did you talk to the building inspector about drainage?
That has not been addressed with me at this point yet.
Okay, well, I'm just kind of curious because, like I said, when you got water ponding, we like to see where it's going. And we also don't like to see too much water shed leaving your property onto a neighbor's property and affecting them, so.
Yep, and I mean, as of now, it's all kind of rests on mine. So,
Oh no, Tom's got plenty.
well, mine gets this more swampy. But yeah, it's gets wet back there. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully, we can figure out a way to help it through this project.
I'd be happy to connect the applicant with Mike following the meeting.
Okay,
And for the benefit of the board, you told the planning commission that the purpose of the upper part of this structure is for what?
Just to add storage.
Thank you.
what's the total height on it?
I don't have that exact number, but I was aware of the requirement and told that to my person who drew the plans. I believe the home is 24 and the garage, I want to say, is around 20.
Okay,
But I will, of course, provide all those details as needed.
And you were building this to a size to take access to standard trusses versus some custom-made trusses, I think you told the planning commission?
Yeah, so from my point of view, it's not just the 6 inches, it would be 28 feet, which is a decent size difference with the garage because the prefabricated roof trusses are much more economical than having like something custom made.
well, plus two, you can also have them built in with the storage space in them. I can't remember what they're called, but,
Yeah, like it's a prefabricated and they just come, 2 foot size increments. So that would change the overall size quite a bit.
all right, any other questions of the applicant? Thanks, Trevor.
Thank you.
All right, anyone else? Hearing none, I need a motion to close the public comment portion.
I'll make a motion to close the public comment portion of this hearing.
A second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, if there is no other discussion or questions, what's the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to pass a resolution approving the variance for 2241 Buffalo Street as noted as 25-52 in our packet.
A second?
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, good luck, sir.
Thank you.
All right, item 8, we have no new business, and because we're going to have a closed session with our attorney, we're going to move open time up. I see our rep from White Bear Press is here. Logan, you got any comments, questions? Okay, good, thanks.
Logan Dion, 12599 Europe Avenue North. Hugo, I'm sorry I wasn't here in person last time. My editor went on vacation and got sick on a cruise. And I had to cover her post at Hugo, which was a different kind of meeting. So I have a new appreciation for the township. I'll just leave it at that. I have new email cards to pass out to everybody. I don't know if that needed to be up here or if I could have just done it afterward, but you guys are going to closed session. Can you comment on what the closed session is about, or is that okay? No. Had to ask. Figured. All right. I think that's everything.
Actually, it'll, Logan.
Yeah.
The minutes will reflect why we're going to closed session, but that's as far as we're going to go.
I understand. Thank you very much. All right. I'm going to pass these out real quick, and then I'll let you guys get to it. CJ, you get one too, I guess, because you're here.
Wow, CJ, you're somebody.
If we had a question about that after tonight, it's been solved. Thank you very much.
These are because I also do the Savor magazine, so that's the email address they could spare for me, which I don't know, I feel weirdly proud of it. So thank you guys. Have a good night.
All right, thanks, Logan.
And thanks again, CJ.
Yep,
Yes, thank you.
nice job.
See you Friday.
I'll see you Friday.
You ever been in the old town hall?
I haven't.
I hope it's not 900 degrees in there. Is that air conditioned?
No, it's called diesel.
900 degrees in there. And Friday, they're gonna be like 90 degrees.
Run fans.
I'm pretty sure, no, I'm almost positive there's no air conditioning in the building.
I don't think there is either.
Can you announce this in the closed session?
I'll make a motion to go into closed session.
For the purpose of discussing
The purpose of discussing
Litigation?
litigation
with the city of White
with the
Bear Lake
city of White Bear Lake
regarding the fire contract.
regarding the fire contract. I didn't know how far I had to go.
I'll second.
All right, motion made second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, I need a motion to come out of closed session.
I'll make a motion to come out of closed session where we were discussing the fire contract potential litigation.
And
I'll second.
to summarize,
Motion made, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, you want to summarize, Chad?
sorry, Mr. Chair. To summarize, the board has directed the town attorney to accept service of the summons and complaint from the city of White Bear Lake.
All right. That concludes our agenda. I need a motion to receive agenda material and supplements.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Need a motion to adjourn at 8:37.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you, folks.